We'll call this meeting to order, the special called meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for December the 14th, 2010 at 3 o'clock. This meeting was published in the Daily News Journal on Friday, December the 10th, 2010. We do have a quorum. Before we start, we have three motions that we will be looking at. We do have to make a motion and a second before we can begin discussion. We will start with number one. The city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct.
We can make a motion. Just because we do make a motion does not mean that you have to vote on that motion. If we make a motion to approve it, you do not have to vote for it. But we do have to have a first and a second to open up discussion, at which time we will have full discussion. We'll answer as many questions as you want to ask. We will get all the information that we feel that you need to make a good decision on either of these motions. So I'm going to begin with motion number one, motion to approve a separation and release agreement with Mark Moshe, option one. The option one is dealing with the original resignation letter with the 3 months severance pay. Do I have a motion for or against this?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I have a motion to accept option one. Do I have a second? I will second it for discussion. And at this time, we will open up for discussion. And we're going to ask Mr. Gaston, our HR director, to step up, and we'll be happy to answer any questions, concerns, or comments that y'all wish to make regarding this motion.
I'll reiterate some of the things that we talked about at the workshop. I met with Mark Moshe prior to the workshop in my office, along with Devin Cope, talked about a resignation. We talked about an agreement at that time, which he eventually signed. That agreement was for 3 months, and I don't use the word severance because it's an agreement. The city doesn't have a severance plan. Talked with him about things that had happened in the city. He, of his own accord, met with me 4 of the times after that, decided that he would resign, that he wanted to resign, that it was the best interest, and so he didn't want this to be a public setting. Sign that agreement. As a matter of fact, originally we were supposed to meet on the 7th to sign it at about 2:15 was the time that he suggested. Couldn't meet at that time, couldn't meet at 3:30. We originally planned to meet at 4:30, and he had to change that time, so I assumed that there was not a signed agreement. Before I made it back to City Hall, I was not here, I was in Murfreesboro. He had contacted, I believe Bruce Richardson, had made arrangements to meet, and prior to the workshop had signed the agreement that he first talked about, and that was for 3 months pay. I'll be glad to talk about any of those details and answer any questions about anything that was discussed.
So he did sign and agree to this?
He did. I took him the original agreement several days before, met with him on a Friday, met with him on Saturday, met with him on Monday, and Tuesday would have been the 7th in the workshop. Met with him because there were some changes that he wanted made, and some of them we were able to make, some of them we were not. Delivered the final document, which he signed on the 7th at about 11:30. He wanted at least an hour to look over it, and we had agreed to meet that evening. I just had some things, and it lasted longer than he thought it would take, so I couldn't meet at those times that he threw out. So 4:30 was the earliest that I could meet.
Who drawn up the agreement?
Evan
I
drew up the original agreement.
Who
I made
authorized
some
it?
changes.
I did.
The mayor authorized it.
All the changes that were made in the agreement after my meetings with Mark, I did. So the final draft that he got and what was in the package, unsigned copy that was in the package for the council on the 7th was a document that I created.
So you and Evan drew the agreement up.
Evan drew up the agreement,
Okay.
changes.
How
that-
did you draw it up? Did Mark want it? Who authorized the wording in the agreement?
Mayor asked me to draft an agreement to present an option to Mark, to give him an option.
What we're trying to do is keep this moving forward in a positive manner. Nobody wants to get this city in any more uproar over negative publicity. And that is what our goal was for the city, for Mark, for all of this above. These were our intentions. However, at this time, we'll be happy to discuss any reasonings that y'all wish to discuss.
Mayor, right along those lines, each time we've talked on this, I've said the same thing. My concern, quite honestly, was not Mr. Moshe. As I said, I did not know him. We talked, we just came out of election. We talked about moving the city forward. My concern, were we doing the right thing? Now, whether I had all the information, whether I did all I needed to do heading into that, I'll take that responsibility. The one thing, as we're moving forward, I wanted to say is, number one, the Daily News article that came out talking about his resignation, first part was fine. The second part, I thought, if we're going to present a public image, if we're going to clean up our public image, the second part didn't need to happen. However that got to be, whether it was just a reporter, however it
Yes,
happened.
that conversation did not transpire between me and the reporter.
Yes, ma'am. And the second thing, looking forward, hiring a new city administrator or other professionals, were we doing the right thing? Were we setting a blueprint for the future? And those were my concerns.
Right.
And quite frankly, those were my only concerns when it came to this. So.
I just felt that if he'd been here that long, he deserved more. And I really felt like the board didn't really know that it was going to happen or what was going on. I mean, nothing was brought to us. And then I feel like that night of the meeting, there should have been a hard copy like this laying here that we could have seen. I mean, I'm not putting blame on any, I'm like Alderman Broker, because there's 5 of us and we all make our mistakes. But, you know, if it had been laying here for us to see.
It was.
And
No, it was not.
I had
It was on the
conversation.
computer.
It was on the computer.
It was on the computer at the workshop.
I had a conversation
Right.
with Alderman Green, and I took responsibility. I was asked some questions about severance. The original word was severance, and I've held to the position that the city doesn't have a severance plan, and we shouldn't call it a severance because the board's not authorized any such thing for Mr. Moshe or anybody else before or afterwards. I did the history on that. Had I been through something like this before, then certainly I wasn't aware that you guys didn't have physical copies until I had a conversation with Alderman Green. I would said, oh, okay, or had thought about the signed copy or those things, so certainly I could do that. I call myself protecting Mr. Moshe in the city and keeping things as private as possible in an open environment. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but certainly I've been asked questions about, okay, is 3 months acceptable, et cetera. I thought it was acceptable given the size of the city, having some internal knowledge of funding and money and being able to pay it in doing that. So I thought it was acceptable. I thought it was acceptable because we didn't have any such agreement beforehand. There was a contract for a prior city administrator, I think prior to him. So when he was hired on, there was an agreement, and that agreement was honored when he left. So that was the only thing that I found in the records. I thought it was my job to research that as well.
Well, I just felt like he signed this for a reason. That's the reason I make the motion. Because, you know, we don't want to soil anybody's work history. And he signed this. It appeared to be what he wanted to do.
He didn't really have a choice, Chris.
So, well,
Which,
Yes,
but
he
you're,
did.
He
you're
does have a
exactly.
We
choice.
did have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
He could have stayed, and he could have been later, you know.
But in review,
but-
I mean, y'all had an opportunity
I mean,
to
and I've
review.
reviewed the file myself, and without going into detail, and you know, there's been a lot of discrepancies and things that have been wrong, and just the water treatment plant in my own. You know, his job was to run the city, and he should have at least known that our water treatment plant was in the position it was in. You know, and to me, that's lack of leadership, amongst other things I've read.
Well, there's a lot of things.
That-
And I feel the same way
That
that
he,
that Alderman Broker did. I mean, it's great, but it started out really, really nice. Okay, if somebody's going to have to leave, all the ugly stuff, and you've got to find another job. I just don't feel, that's just my opinion. And
Had we
I'm
done
not
this, though, there
certainly,
wouldn't have been any negativity that came about with it.
Let
it
me-
was in the
That's what we
paper
were trying
before.
To stop. Had we done this, like we said, Mark was happy, he signed it, he wouldn't have had any of this. None of this
It
would
was
have been
in the
brought about.
paper.
You
That's
know.
what I'm talking about, all the stuff that
But we
was in the
can't
paper.
help what the news media does. We let them know right off the bat, it was done in a very nice manner. He was happy with it, he was fine, he wouldn't have signed it if he wasn't. Nobody held a gun to his head. Those options were laid
It
out
had
for
not
him.
been signed when it came out in the paper.
So, you know, I can't help what they do.
Oh, I understand that,
You
because
know,
I know, because I've been with them long enough to know
So,
that they do what they want to do.
Let me clarify my position. I do not believe that Mr. Moshe is the right city administrator for this administration. I can't speak for the past, and that's
Oh,
probably
well,
as much as.
I don't disagree with that. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I didn't think he got the fair pay he deserved. That's all I'm saying.
do we have any more discussion on this? Ask all the questions y'all feel comfortable asking. That's why we're here.
No, I don't have anything.
Would you like to ask any more, or you need any more? I want everybody to be,
Good.
because we do have a motion on the table to approve option one, which is the 3 months. That has been signed by Mr. Moshe. The 3 months agreement has been signed. So that is what we're on right now, is the 3 months. Any more discussion? Are y'all ready to take a vote on this? I want people to ask everything they want to ask at this time. So we are ready to take a roll call vote. Alderman Green.
Thank you.
No.
Alderman, Vice Mayor Farmer.
yes.
Alderman Walters.
No.
Alderman Broker.
Yes.
I vote yes. The motion passed to approve the separation and release agreement with Mark Mouche with 3 months, with the 3 months. We do go on to number 2. Motion to approve a separation and release agreement with Mark Mouche, option 2. The option 2 is the 6 months. We've already passed option 1. I will make a motion to deny option 2 of the separation and release agreement with Mr. Moshe. Do I have a second to deny?
I'll make a second.
I have a second to deny. I will go with a roll call vote. Do I have any more discussion? I want to give everybody discussion on this option.
At this point, ma'am, yes, I do want to
Okay.
say, as many people in this room know, Fred, I wore people out the last week, trying to get as much information as I can. I also got information from the other side speaking. I went straight to Mark. Mark told me point blank he was happy. He wanted to move on. For many reasons, that's why I have moved to accepting the original separation, but Mark did tell me that he did not want any more. He wanted to be done and move on. So.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
I got to discuss, why are we going to number 2 when the number 1's already passed?
Because it's on there.
Okay.
We have to discuss every option that's on our agenda. Please, if there's any more discussion, comments, or concerns, let's make them now. I want everybody to be comfortable in making those comments. Do we have no more comments? I will move for a roll call. Alderman Green.
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
We have a motion to deny. Okay, so you're voting yes, okay.
Voting yes to deny the
Okay.
second one.
We're making a motion to deny.
To deny.
What motion?
Motion to deny the separation agreement for 6 months.
No.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So the motion to deny separation and release agreement with Mark Moshe, option 2, was denied. Now, we will move on to number 3, which is a motion to appoint an interim city administrator. And at this time, I would love to make the motion that Bruce Richardson, our city recorder, will step in as interim city administrator. Bruce has done this city, he's been very, very good to this city. He works very, very hard for this city. And I think that would be a very good move on this board's part to have Bruce working with us as an interim city administrator. So I do make the motion to appoint Bruce Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. I like it when everybody wants to second.
Well, I've
can we
worked
have some-
with
can we
Bruce
have some
before
discussion?
when he had to do this
Yeah.
job, and he did a wonderful job.
Yes, he has.
He did when,
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We will have discussion now.
Okay. I would like either to change the motion, that Bruce be the assistant, should he not become the city administrator. Can we do that in this motion?
We don't technically have well, you would have to amend your motion to do that. You'd have to make a motion to amend and get a second. But as it stands right now, I don't think we have that position created.
Okay.
Created,
We don't.
but we
Okay.
are,
Plus, it's not on the agenda.
it's not on the
Okay.
agenda. But
I
that
didn't
is
know,
something that we are discussing right now. And I think Mr. Gaston is working on possibility. We don't have the actual duties of an assistant administrator, but we are looking to maybe making Bruce into that position for the future. So, but that will be brought to us at a later date when they have all the bookwork and all that done.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Any more questions? Are we comfortable with the vote now? We'll do a roll call. Alderman Green.
aye.
Yes.
Vice Mayor. Alderman Walden.
Aye.
Alderman Broker.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Welcome aboard, Bruce, and thank you very, very much for stepping up to the plate for this city. We just want you to know how much we very much appreciate everything that you have done, and I look forward to working with you over the next few months as this board will take their time, and I assure you we will work very, very hard. This board will be included in the next hiring of a new administrator, and look forward to working, and we will do everything very slowly and take our time and really investigate what we're doing. At this time, the meeting for December 14th is adjourned.